Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
I figure there's one of two things I'm going to get you for your birthday.
Yeah, punch or pie?
The first one is called a Forever Alone. It's a long fake arm that actually you can put your cell phone on the end of it, and it makes it look like you have a friend. And the friend's taking a picture, you're holding her arm. And so I figure that way you'll never be alone again. Or I could buy where, when your loved one dies, you can put your loved one's ashes in a glass dildo.
Why would I need that?
Well, you're a lonely guy. I mean, look what you bought already. You got that other goofy Forever Alone selfie thing. I figure a guy like you needs these things.
I don't have any selfie stuff.
This just in: Al Gore places infant son in rocket to escape dying planet. I mean,
you're reading The Onion again, aren't you?
I'm pretty much reading everything. Yeah.
Here's the thing: if some elderly woman, her husband dies and she has his ashes turned into a dildo, it could be the first time he's pleasured her in years. Thank you. Good afternoon. You've been a beautiful crowd.
Nice to know the crickets were there.
I bet one of my favorite shows on the televisions is At Midnight with Chris Hardwick. They had Eddie Izzard on.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they go through all the internet weirdness through the day. They had a 5-minute discussion that was nothing but dick jokes. and I learned two things about it. One is because they were able to go that long with nothing but dick jokes, there's obviously an underserved community that needs more dick jokes on podcasts and stuff like that. We will not become that. We will not serve that community. But if you're listening and you want to start a podcast, obviously there's a demand. So someone needs to create a supply. And the second thing is I honestly think I'm the only human male left on the internet who has not sent someone a picture of his penis.
I'll make it two. I'm pretty sure, judging by my wife's reaction, nobody cares what my penis looks like.
One of the things that we talk about on this here podcast is weird junk food, right? Weird junk food, weird
I see.
Fast food.
We talked about photographing junk. Now we're into junk food. Okay, good segue.
Yes,
good segue.
That is called a transition.
Yes.
Taco Bell has announced, and they have been spotted in the wild. You know how they have the Doritos tacos, where they take Doritos and turn them into a taco shell? Now they have Fritos as taco shells.
Yes, I saw that. Mostly because my daughter likes Taco Bell because it's one of the few places she can get vegetarian options.
What is the difference between Fritos and just the corn tortilla?
I do believe Fritos is a little bit higher in saturated fats. And I'm not talking the pool player either.
They did have the chili cheese Fritos taco. And if you probably fill it with the Taco Bell chili and cheese, you may create a singularity that would cause a black hole to erupt and destroy the universe. And we all know everything ends.
Well, according to the conservatives going crazy, Obama was mocking Michelle Bachmann for blaming the apocalypse on him, and now they're all furious at Obama for mocking a goodly Christian woman. Even though I seem to recall when I read my Bible that nobody knows when the end times are coming, so I don't know what the hell she knows that nobody else does.
We know when the end times are coming, Joe.
Nobody knows.
Yes, we do. It
No.
says so. It
Nope.
says so on the cover of every damn Marvel comic.
Nope, not happening.
2 months till everything ends.
Nope, not everything.
Everything ends.
Well, according to Convergence, pretty much everything is over.
Yeah, my interest in Convergence is over.
I haven't even gotten them yet, and I'm like poo-pooing it. What's the latest internet thing? I mean, last week it was Batman, Superman. The month before it was Ben Affleck as Superman. Now who is it? What's this guy as Joker?
Jared Leto.
Yeah.
With tattoos and everything, and then, they release it on a Friday. Let everybody piss and moan about it all weekend, and then they go, yeah, that's not how he's going to look in the movie. It's just a publicity picture. I think they're just messing with people.
I hope they are, because I thought that was utterly insane. As a Joker, if I saw that coming at me, I would be shit my pants terrified.
There's only one Joker I give a damn about, and it's a Joker who doesn't give who gives so little of a shit, he won't even shave his mustache before putting on his makeup. Cesar Romero's the only Joker, damn it.
I like Caesar salads.
Not named for Julius Caesar, by the way.
Do tell.
There was a restaurateur in the 1920s who created it. And his last name was Caesar. And what it is, he would have the people mix the salad at your table, because for the dressing they would use hot bacon grease. And they didn't want to mix it in the back, because then by the time it came out, it wouldn't be as hot. They couldn't mix it in advance. They would do it right at the table.
We missed.
I should be a nutritional anthropologist.
We missed, because as we're recording this, it's April 28th, but we missed on April 27th, Jason Todd was murdered by the Joker in 1985.
No. 88.
No, I'm pretty sure I dialed 1-800-652-1985. Because if you dialed 1988, that was to have him live.
Joe, what happened in 1985 in the DC universe?
I'm not sure.
The Crisis on Infinite Earths.
That was 30 years ago.
Right.
Have you read it lately?
Jason Todd did not die in the Crisis on Infinite Earths. He died 3 years later. You know how I know that?
Because your brain is a font of useless information.
Because I bought a whole bunch of those comics, sold them in November to pay for my Christmas. Oh, look. Someone just asked to add me to the contact list. Here's their name, Joe. Are you ready?
Sure.
G 543 would like to add you on Skype. Her message: your picture's awfully cute. I'd like to chat sometime.
Well, she likes underage killers or fat cows. One of the somebody that should probably be avoided at all cost.
But I saw that picture on Facebook. It's like, no, Jason Todd did not die during the Crisis. He died years later. In the Crisis, he still had the origin that was a carbon copy of Dick Grayson, where his parents were killed by Two-Face. And they were circus performers.
I remember that. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he was jacking the Batmobile's hubcaps.
Yeah, then after Crisis, they said, oh, we need to change him up. Let's have him be a kid that Batman saves from a life of crime. But then that quickly, under Jim Starlin, turned into he's a guy who doesn't know right from wrong. And he let people die. He didn't go out of his way to kill them. He let people die. And that really turned the fans against the character. And there was also probably some residual, well, Nightwing's really cool. We like Nightwing. This new Robin is a jerk. He's a jerk. No, they're writing him like a jerk.
Oh.
And there's your Simpsons game.
Yeah. Stop seeding my town. It's not wholesome.
But I did correct a couple of people, but I've kind of given up on correcting people on the internet.
Yeah.
Because it could be a full-time job and you don't get paid for it.
And, of course, the best part is when you use Snopes or UrbanLegends.com. Well, I don't believe you. That's just a tool. You know, that's not right.
Or, hey, Snopes is owned by liberals.
And as we know, belief is more important than facts.
That's right. So, you know who believes?
Who's that?
These guys, our sponsors. You may not be able to join the mighty Marvel Marching Society anymore, or even the Friends of Old Marvel, but you can visit our sponsors. Our oldest sponsor is DreamHost.com. DreamHost.com is the best, bar none, web host in the whole known universe. If you need a website, go to DreamHost.com. They will take care of you as they've been taking care of me for over 15 years. If you use the code CRAYZ, that's KRAYZ, you get $20 off your first year of hosting. If you are listening to this podcast, you are very good looking. That's right. As a good-looking person, you can't trust your skin to any old razor. That's why you need to shave with the amazing razors you could get delivered from the Dollar Shave Club. Every month they send a box with your shaving supplies. At the beginning of the week, or whenever you want, you pop in a fresh blade and get that fresh blade shave. It feels fantastic, and it's just one of the many, many ways that you can maintain the good looks that everyone has come to expect from you. And if you join us at the Dollar Shave Club, their plans start at just $3 a month. They have a money-back guarantee, and there is no excuse for you to ever use any other razor. So just go to dollarshaveclub.com/crazy, KRAYZ, to get started. One of the things you need to do this year, you need to get healthy. We all need to be healthy so we can all hang out a lot longer. And one of the ways to get healthy is not to go down to the vending machine and buy those chips or those candy bars or any of the other vending machine snacks. You want healthy snacks picked out by actual chefs who know what they're doing, and you can do that at graze.com. And if you use the code Cory S3R5P, your first and fifth box are free, so you can try it out. See if that's the kind of stuff you like. That's Cory S3R5P. Our final sponsor is Worldwide News. Worldwide News is the story of the lowest rated cable news network and the people who work there. It is updated twice a week by writer Corey Strode. Hey, that's me! And artist Dangerous Dan Moore. Worldwide News at worldwidenews.solitairerose.com, part of the Solitaire Rose family of websites. If you would like to contact us, there are a whole bunch of ways. You can email us at cory.strode@gmail.com. You can give us a call. We have a voice line that is open at all times at 952-856-0519, or you could go to Facebook and join the Crazy Comics and Stuff fan page. If you would like to advertise on Crazy Comics and Stories or on Solitaire Rose Radio, you can. Just send me an email at cory.strode@gmail.com, subject advertising. Thanks.
Okay, while I approve of the sponsor, that was a pretty poor segue. We're going to have to work on that.
Look, I've been busy. I started a new job. I got us up on the YouTubes, and if you go to YouTube/Cory.Strode, putting up new episodes as they get posted, but I will also be going back and putting up some old episodes.
Cool.
Putting up some old interviews I've done, mostly because the people who I interviewed are like, well, why aren't you putting me on the YouTubes?
Because we're getting ready for Sharknado 3.
We're getting ready for something else, something that's coming in about 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a Sharknado, it's a Con-nado. Joe?
Well, I wasn't going to talk about it yet, but Asia Butterfield's rumored as Spiderman frontrunner. Oh, what? Oh, that's not what I was talking about. Oh, okay. Midwest Comic Book Association is proud to present MSP Comic Con, formerly known as Spring Con. And, of course, it's May 16th and 17th at the Minnesota State Fairground. If you don't know it's coming, you just really haven't been listening much to us talk about comic books on this here podcast, because it's probably the one show that we're very, very excited about. Pat Gleason, Bill Willingham are going to be there. They're going to have the MCBA's first con-exclusive T-shirt and we're going to be selling it at the booth. So that ought to be
Oh.
fun. Plus, we're also going to have another computer to give
Does that
away.
mean we don't get a free one this year?
No, the volunteers will get one, but they have a shirt because everybody's always like, hey, how come we can't buy these shirts? Well, you're going to be able to.
Now you can.
100,000 square feet of extreme comic book mayhem. Hundreds of dealers, over 250 guests, people being added. Of course, the infamous grab bags will be there. Dan Jurgens will be there. Chris Jones will be there. We'll be there. And you can find out all the information at www.mcbacomic. It's comiccon.com, but it's COMICONS. And of course, if you Google it, you can find it. In this day and age in Google, we shouldn't have to hold your hand to find this stuff. So it should be fun. Actually, you can go order the T-shirt now if you want. Just go right to their website, like I said. The comic artist doing it, special guest Chris Herdon from Walking Dead, Living with Zombies, and he's created an incredible Mars Attacks-based design. So you can pre-order it, have it picked up to the show, and the MCBA's ready for you. It goes from small all the way up to 5XL. And of course, quantity.
5XL.
Hey, they know their audience. What can I say? So, anyways, check them out. Should be a lot of fun. And of course, by the time we get this here podcast for your listening pleasure, we'll have done Free Comic Book Day, which will be, Tuesday? So that's just a couple days away, too.
Yeah, it was over the weekend.
So we got oodles of things to talk about.
Oodles.
Next time.
Yes. But we've got stuff to talk about now.
True.
I've started the new job, and there's one thing I already like about the new job, Joe.
What's that?
Free soda.
Ooh.
It was almost like walking into 1997. Because I come in and they go, oh, there's this. You get a free gym membership. Really? Okay. And then they take me into the break room, and there's a soda machine, and there's a juice machine, and there's oatmeal and coffee. And I said, well, how much is the soda? Oh, the soda's free.
Nice.
Joe, you shouldn't tell me that soda's free. I'm an addict, as you know. So, they may have to take me out of there and put me in Hazelden in about 9 months. What's he addicted to? Coke. Oh, man. No, Diet Coke.
So if we take away your soda, it'll take about 2.9 seconds for you to go from this is the best day ever to I want to stab every person on the planet.
No, it takes longer than that.
Okay, maybe 9.2 seconds.
Because at the group home, I know people, one of the people I work with, the huge tall bottles of Mountain Dew.
Mm-hmm.
She'll go through 6 of those in a 10-hour shift. I am not joking.
Ugh.
And believe it or not, she still has teeth.
The question I was going to ask is based upon weight more, or is she keeping it thin?
Well, she drinks Diet Mountain Dew, but I don't think any of us at the group home are really thin.
There is that.
But I had 2 weeks off. 1 week was spent kind of just being in twilight. But last week, I was sleeping normally. I was getting up. I was going to the gym. I was doing stuff. And I've been reading a whole ton of comics. And there's something I noticed about my reading habits. My reading habits have really changed a lot.
How so?
There are very few comics I will read every month.
Mm-hmm.
I much prefer, I'm going to read a whole bunch of this series in a row. Now, I've always kind of wanted to be like that. I remember when they started doing trade paperbacks, I actually wrote Marvel and would bring up in conventions, look, if at the end of the year you put out, here's every issue of the Fantastic Four we printed in one book, I would buy that. And they kind of moved to that over years. But after reading Walking Dead all the way through, and then I read Fatale all the way through, and now I'm reading Hickman's Avengers all the way through. It's so much better to read a book like that than to, okay, I will read this 10-minute increment of a comic. that is part of a much longer story and wait a month to read the next chapter and then wait a month to read the next chapter. There are a few writers who still write for that style. Dan Slott still writes in that style. Peter David still writes in that style. But most writers now, they're writing a complete story that just happens to be cut up into 22-page segments.
Oh, excuse me here. I'm having a geekasm.
Uh-oh.
I just saw through comicbooknews.com has pictures of Grodd from the new Flash series. Oh,
Gorilla Grodd?
He's not scary. You're going to give a Grodd, I'm telling you.
Okay, cool.
Okay, anyways, continue. I'm sorry.
So, first off, Hickman's Avengers is amazing.
Yes.
When I started reading it, when it first started, it's like, oh wow, these are a whole bunch of cool ideas. I really like where it's going. And then because of all this other stuff, I kind of dropped out, but I kept getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm reading it. And first off, it's unbelievably clear that he had the entire thing plotted in detail before he put down word one.
See, I'm the other way on that because when I get my book of comics once a month, those are the first ones I have to read. Yeah, I don't care if I get home late and it's 2 a.m. I have to read them because and of course I know rereading them I'm going to be catching things that I probably would have caught had I just sat down and read them through. But yeah, but most of the comics I think I agree with you on that. There's times where I'll have a run like Fantastic Four. I think for a while I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep it or not. And then I read a run of them in a row and I'm like, okay, this is fun. I'm not necessarily sold that I want to buy them as a graphic novel, but it's fun. There's still a difference between reading a graphic novel and reading comic. It's kind of like, I read my news online. Well, yeah, but I like to hold a newspaper. It's just a tactile sensation that I like. And if I can get a story, and usually stories are about 6 issues, and just sit down and read them all at once, I like to do that as well.
The other thing, though, along with a complete story arc being that long, more and more creators at Marvel are coming in, and their entire run is going to be a story. Hickman on Avengers, that entire run leading through Secret Wars is going to be one big story. Or when Matt Fraction was on the Fantastic Four, and you had the Fantastic Four in the FF, that was one story. It broke up into arcs, but it really was meant to be read all the way through. Fatale, over at Image, 24 issues, one novel. They broke it at 6-issue increments for the trades. But when you sit down and read the whole thing, it's written like that. There are still comics that are written as serials. Walking Dead. Walking Dead is meant to be read every month. It is set up to have cliffhangers and stuff. But most comics, I'm moving toward that in how I want to read. And it's kind of like why I quit reading fantasy and science fiction books. Because with a fantasy book, it's okay, here's book 1. Well, how many books are there going to be? Maybe 5, maybe 7, maybe 9. Well, when are they coming out? Well, they'll come out when the writer gets them done. So it's one part of a story. You don't know when the next part's going to be, and you don't know how many books it's going to be. I'm not investing years into a novel. I'm sorry. Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace is 1,200 pages. But that's it. You don't need to read anything else. Ulysses, one book. But the thing I'm loving about Hickman's Avengers is, because I know, I've read later stuff, you see seeds planted in the very first issue. Black Panther and Namor having an argument. And Black Panther looks at Namor and says, when I no longer need you, I'm going to kill you. And that pays off 3 years later. By the way, reading New Avengers, because I'm kind of, there's a thing online for here's the order to read them in. Reading New Avengers, Black Panther's the scariest son of a bitch in the Marvel Universe. He is a scary, scary bastard. I would not want to be on his bad side. And I could argue that he may be the most powerful member of the Avengers.
I always like it when the whole reason he was there was because he was concerned about them.
Yes.
And the only guy that Captain America has never defeated.
Yep. And the stuff with Captain America in the early issues pays off much, much later. It's so beautifully put together. One of the things I've been thinking about as I'm reading this, Joe, you and most fans I know are already $3.99 is way too much to pay for a comic. Well, they've been $3.99 for a while. I wonder if there's going to be another huge sales drop when they go to $4.99, especially if they don't add anything. You know, at least when Marvel went to $3.99, it's like, oh, okay, and you get a free digital copy, which most people aren't using. But if they go to $4.99, are they going to have to add more pages? Are they going to have to do something? Or are people going to go, I'm not paying $5 for a comic. I'm tapping out for good now. And will digital be the thing that kind of saves the day? Or will comics actually do what genre fiction did, where it's okay, we're not going to do serialized anymore. We're just going to print, here's the new Fantastic Four trade paperback. Here's the new Avengers trade paperback. So I know that we ask this a lot, but Joe, where do you think comics are going to go in the next 5 years? What do you think is going to happen with the format, especially with digital becoming such a huge part?
There will always be comic books. So I'm not too worried about that. If you want them, you'll be able to get them. Either you'll be lucky enough to have a store near you that still caters them, or, you know, like we've done, you can get it through discount comic book service. I can see some of the more interesting properties going the way of digital, because that's always a cheaper way to do it. Or you could see more people doing Kickstarter. Just recently I noticed Gene Ha is doing a Kickstarter for a graphic novel he's going to have coming out later this year. May graphic novel. The synopsis: 8 years ago, May's sister Abby ran away from home to a different, more magical world. The monsters have followed her back. And it's already above its goal. It's still $28 to go. So, I mean, you could see if you want to go. Let's see, you can go as low as $10 and get the graphic novel, or do like I did. I went $30 to get a hardcover of it, or go $28. Actually, I don't think he's doing a soft cover. So again, I want the hardcover. I want something. I'm still not sold on reading comics digitally, but I do understand the appeal of it, especially now that I joined Marvel Unlimited, because they were offering a free month again. And I have my spiffy new tablet way down here charging up. What the hell is it? I don't know, some sort of Dell. But that's what I'll probably be doing. You know, I see more and more of it happening. It's just a matter of when. I get music now digitally. And if you go earlier in the podcasts, I mean, the early ones, I was probably complaining about that. You can't buy CDs anymore. Everything's digital. My wife she watches X-Files on her phone, you know, little screen, which is something a couple of years ago only my daughters did. I mean, they'd be like, I just downloaded Family Guy for $1. I said, why? I got the DVDs the whole season. You can just throw them in and watch them on the big screen. No, they're just happy. They want it when they want it. I see people at work pulling out their little tablets and watching movies on their breaks or TV shows on their breaks. I'll be doing it with my comic books.
Yeah.
You know, especially with, like I said, with Marvel Unlimited. I mean, I was almost overwhelmed by the amount of things I can look at.
It's amazing. It really is. And one of the things that they added a couple of years ago that saved me working at the group home, and it's one of the reasons why I still like digital media. If you can download and store 12 comics, you say, I want these available for when you don't have good connectivity, for when you don't have Wi-Fi. When I would work out at the group home on overnights, there's no Wi-Fi and there's terrible connectivity. So I would bring DVDs and stuff. But when I'm at the gym, there's also terrible connectivity. I will take videos and save them to my tablet so that I can put it on the elliptical machine and watch the video. I can't do streaming. I only have 3G, and they say they have Wi-Fi at the gym, but it doesn't reach all the way through the entire gym, which is weird. We have Wi-Fi. You have to go over and stand by the router, but we've got it.
Oh, baby, we've got it.
But especially with Marvel Unlimited, you can look through, there's stuff that's missing, but I've noticed that when people point it out, it gets added real quick. When the Daredevil TV series hit, they got a lot of tweets and stuff saying, hey, you don't have the complete run of Daredevil. You don't have this stuff. You don't have that stuff. The next week, oh, look, here's Ann Nesenti's entire run of Daredevil. Here's Frank Miller's Daredevil. Here's, all this stuff. The other thing I really like about Marvel Unlimited is it shows what's popular. And next time you look at what's popular, Joe, notice it's a lot of stuff from the 60s. People are reading that real early stuff. Still, this stuff's 40, 50 years old, and people are still, oh, yeah, I want to read those early Fantastic Fours by Lee and Kirby. I want to read the early Doctor Stranges by Steve Ditko. I'm sure that the new stuff gets read, too. But you can go, you know what, I want to read, Black Panther is going to get a movie. I want to read every appearance of the Black Panther. So I'll start with this Fantastic Four issue 52, and then go through this, and then, why did they call him what did they call him when they were kind of scared of the name Black Panther?
I don't remember, because I've never read those.
Because I know in the original, when Kirby submitted it, he wanted to call him the Cold Tiger. But Lee said, no, Black Panther. Black Panther's cool. And then there was the Black Panther militant group. They went, oh, crap.
Hang on a second. Let me run to Wikipedia and see what they have to say. Dun, 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 dun.
Da, 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 da.
Oddly enough, the first thing that comes up is the Black Panther Party.
What I find fascinating is when you put into Google, it says, what have you, based on what you've searched for in the past,
mm-hmm.
what do you want? And it was, let's see, Black Panther, Don McGregor.
Okay, Black Leopard. That's what they tried to use.
So they never did go back to Kirby's Cold Tiger name.
No.
But they actually explained it in the comic where he said, this name, which is sacred in my land, is now being used for a group that I don't agree with. So when I'm in the U.S., I will use this name. But then, they figured, hey, we have the trademark on this name. We better start using it.
Yeah.
One of the things that changes when you read an entire run, in my mind, is that the cliffhangers aren't as, the cliffhangers don't make you go, oh my God, as much. And in a lot of ways, I don't think they put as much emphasis on them anymore. Walking Dead still does. Spiderman still does. But Avengers, each issue, even if it wasn't the end, had kind of a close to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, Joe, I would ask, what are some of the cliffhangers of old comics that you still remember? Where you went, oh my God, how are they getting out of this? And I will start, because you mentioned Crisis on Infinite Earths, Crisis on Infinite Earths number 4.
Oh, yeah.
When Earth 1 was destroyed. Earth 2 was all of the Earths were destroyed at the end of the issue. And you really didn't know what the hell was going to happen because they had said, look, everything changes. This will change everything about DC. Our continuity will change. Everything is going to change. Worlds will live and worlds will die, and this is a big deal. And, you know, when you first start reading it, it's, wow, they destroyed Earth this. They destroyed Earth 3. And then they destroyed Earth 1 and Earth 2. Oh, crap, are they starting completely over? What the hell's going to happen now?
Yeah, in hindsight, they really should have just started everything with number 1, but I don't think they had the gazpatzos to do it.
They didn't have, all the editors did not buy in.
Which is too bad. You'd have thought up from above, they'd have said, you know what, tough, do it or hit the bricks. But, yeah, different time.
DC was built very differently back then.
Yeah.
Back then, editors had a lot more control over the books that they published. And if you want proof of that, look at the stuff that Bob Haney edited, where he was like, oh yeah, Batman was in World War II. And then the next issue, oh yeah, Batman hung out with Kamandi. Then the next issue, oh yeah, Batman's, I don't care. To which the Batman editor, Julie Schwartz at the time, was like pulling his hair out. I just read a big article on it where, you know, Bob Haney would do this stuff and Julie Schwartz would go down and go, would you please pay some attention to what we're doing in the other books? and he would say, I don't have to. As long as my books sell, I don't have to give a damn about anything you people do.
Yeah. Kind of tells you how Marvel got to be number 1. For me, one of the biggest cliffhangers where I went absolutely crazy was The Amazing Spider-Man 195. Now remember, I started at 178 reading monthly comics, so I was fairly new into this. This would probably be my golden age of comics. And of course, I got to think of the time. It was way back in 79. This was the second appearance of Black Cat, and this was probably one of the lowest days that Peter Parker ever had, because not only did he fail to save Black Cat, he, in trying to blow off Betty Brant to go back to Ned, which worked out real fabulously as we found out later, he said something real snotty, got his face slapped and pissed off Harry and Flash, so they walked out on him. And
were not seen
yep.
for ages.
And he was also at the end of the issue informed that Aunt May had died. And I tell you, my brain for 30 days was just chewing this comic over and over and over. I could not wait till issue 196 hit. And of course, there was no internet. I was pretty much solo in terms of buying comics. I really didn't have people I could talk to or geek with, but it was just incredible. And there's been other issues like that where the way it ends, you're just, oh my God, how am I going to wait 30 days for the next one? So kudos to Marv Wolfman for that one.
Wow, both our big cliffhangers are Marv Wolfman cliffhangers.
Interesting.
The other one, because I started thinking about this, was one that really wasn't that big a cliffhanger when you talk about it now, because it happens all the time. But in the 80s, before Crisis, Doug Moench had taken over Batman and did a long story with a character called Nocturna and Thief of Night, where Nocturna was playing a lot of mind games with Bruce Wayne.
Ah, yes.
And there was a story that ended with him giving up being Batman and Thief of Night taking over as Batman. And it was one of those where when you read it, you went, what the hell? And then you go back and you read and he had set it up all the way through. And this was before, we got a new this character's going to be Batman, and this character's now we got an armored Batman, and oh look, somebody else is going to be Batman. This was kind of the first time at DC, because I'd only been reading DC for a few years, where and you really felt, oh my God, they're changing the status quo. They've had Dick Grayson quit being Robin, and now he's Nightwing, and now Bruce Wayne's not going to be Batman anymore. And of course, it was resolved, 2 weeks later in Detective. But at the time, it was very much a, what the hell? I don't think you could pull that off anymore. I think if the Joker became Batman, people would go, big deal, he'll be back in a month.
It's really hard to surprise people now, because part of it is because we're selling a product where they're trying to, the secret kind of gets out ahead of time.
Yeah.
And they want it that way because they want you to go to the comic shop and demand a copy, and they want the comic shops to buy it. And it's because of they're ordering stuff 2 months from now to be delivered, this Wednesday. So it's a little different, but I can't think of any type of, it's kind of changing the question, but I can't think of any surprise now that just really isn't ruined. I don't think there's a genuine, oh my God moment where you did not see that coming. Even like when Angela showed up in the end of, what was that? What was that mega event Marvel just did?
Was it Fear Itself?
No, I thought it was actually a good one, I thought.
Oh, Infinity? Did she show up in Infinity?
I don't know. I don't remember. It's just, they bagged the last issue, Age of Ultron.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because it was all time bending. And, but we knew it was coming because Neil had said.
They told us.
Yeah, well, Neil had said, hey, I sold it to Marvel. It's coming up. Everybody get ready for it. It's an exciting issue. They bagged it. And they try to do that somewhat with previews where they will say classified or top secret. And the retailers, it drives them nuts because they're not going to order extra just on the basis of not knowing.
Well, some of it is retailers were burned so many times a long time ago with this issue changes everything. And then, it was like, Black Goliath is dead and no one cares about Black Goliath. And I didn't even know they still had Black Goliath in Marvel.
Oh, yeah, he was part of the Underoos section at Kmart. All right.
I think the last huge cliffhanger that blew us both away, Thunderbolts #1.
Yeah, because that was a genuine we didn't know, and they actually kept the secret pretty good up until the very, very last page. And you didn't have the internet to ruin it for everybody, which was nice. First person to read it. Hey, guess what happened? Another cliffhanger, and I think you'll agree, Cory, the end of Walking Dead 50. And if I got it right, because I read it in the omnibus, so I believe it was issue 50. It was basically where the prison fell.
Was it? No. I think, was it? If you read it in the omnibus, the last part of that omnibus was issue 48.
Okay, so it was a couple issues earlier. Because, they had that perfect. That whole thing, the prison was overrun. Laurie was cut in half by a shotgun blast. The governor was blown away. The last thing we see is Rick and his kid on the hill. And zombies coming at him, zombies pouring in after everybody into the prison. That had to be a long 30 days for issue 49 to come out.
That was a big one. But as I reread the whole run, you know what? One cliffhanger was the hardest, and they did it twice.
Which one?
Oh, God, I'm having trouble remembering the kid's name.
Glenn?
Carl.
Yeah.
Carl getting shot. The first time, it's, oh, crap, Carl got shot. The second time, holy crap, Carl got shot in the head, and that's the end of the issue.
Oh, beautiful.
And you're kind of clutching it and going, and the fun thing was to read the letters pages a few issues later where people were just like, F you, Kirkman, I hate you! We're coming up on that point in the TV series. One of the people I work with hasn't ever read the comic, huge fan of the series. And I was like, oh man, the season ender, this was so intense and so, I said, yeah, well, next season, get ready.
Yeah.
Oh, then nothing could be worse than this year with the cannibals and everything. And I said, Negan makes the governor look like Mickey Mouse. It's gonna be bad. And of course they were like, no, the governor's the worst villain in any TV show ever, and there's no way they could ever top the governor.
Well, if they put if they put the governor from the comic book in there, maybe.
The governor from the comic there were only a few alterations they did for him for TV, and they were ones that Kirkman said, yeah, I made a mistake, I'm able to fix it on the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
With Negan's nasty. Negan's bad. Negan
Is he the guy who owns Lucille?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I haven't read those yet, but I did read issue 100.
And the latest issue, great cliffhanger. Because after the war, Negan has been in prison. And he's been in prison for, I think it's 2 years. Well, at the end of the latest issue, somebody forgot to lock his cell door.
Oh, beautiful.
Because people are like, oh, I don't know, Walking Dead's starting to get boring. I always love reading the letters pages, because by the time the letters are printed, they're, knee deep in horrible, horrible stuff happening. And you'll read the letters like, I don't know, I think you've lost it. I think the book's got boring. Everybody just stands around and talks all the time. Nothing happens anymore. And you're reading that in an issue where, like Carl got shot in the head.
Mm.
So, I think one of the things that is kind of gone from comics is that element of surprise. But if you read The Walking Dead, because it's so popular, because it's so successful, if you read their solicitation, it's just a picture of the cover and one word.
Yeah.
It'll be like, here's the cover, and it'll be isolation. Kirkman, Adlard, blah, blah, blah. Or, rebellion. He can get away with it. I wish that Marvel had enough guts to, on their bigger books, like Spiderman, like Avengers, like X-Men, to just go, here's the cover, here's the creative team. And if they're going to start into a big crossover, they go, crossover, blah, 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 starts here.
Yeah.
Kind of like, remember when the Adam Strange miniseries started? And like 3 issues in, I read about what was coming, and I said, Joe, reorder those. Nobody's buying it. Reorder them. They're going to want them. Why? It's leading into something called Infinite Crisis. This is where it starts.
Well, yeah, the Thanos War.
Yeah.
Or, Thanos Quest, the 2-parter.
Yeah.
No, what? That's a $3.99 book. Holy cow. He just became the most powerful being in the Marvel Universe.
And it led into the Infinity Gauntlet, which they didn't say. They just said, oh, it's a Thanos thing that is written and drawn by Jim Starlin that will have repercussions.
And it still is.
When what they should have said is, this is where we start on the road to this big crossover. Because really, for ordering, that's all you need.
Well, back then, the big crossover like that wasn't... I mean, and now it's almost like you're waiting for the next crossover.
Yeah.
Back then, it kind of came out of the blue. At least to me, it did. And, it started in a different book, and it just naturally flowed into it. So people were going crazy going back, trying to find those old Silver Surfer appearances where Thanos just popped up out of nowhere and started giving Silver Surfer a hard time.
My favorite story about all of that, Steve Englehart wanted to bring back Thanos. when he was doing the Silver Surfer. He had put together a story. He pitched it. Tom DeFalco, who was editor-in-chief of Marvel at the time, said, "Who's Thanos?" "I don't know this character." He's the editor-in-chief of Marvel. And it's like, oh, well, because the other thing to remember, Thanos had not been used since the death of Captain Marvel. When Starlin left doing mainstream Marvel books and started doing creator-owned stuff, nobody else used the character. So, of course, Starlin comes back, his first issue of Silver Surfer. Oh, there's Thanos.
Here he is.
Because DeFalco didn't know who he was, so nobody else used him. One question I have, Joe, this is a kind of a retailer question, and maybe you have some experience, so there might be some tales from the shop. Do you know of any way to get people who buy trades to switch over to monthly comics? I know Walking Dead, every 6 issues for a while they would get a bump. Because it would be, the people who are buying the trades, they can't wait anymore. They're going to go and they're going to buy the comic. So every 6 issues, it would bump up.
I don't know if I can answer that really, because when I had the shop, it was more either or. I mean, you had the guys coming in weekly or monthly buying the comics, and occasionally you'd have the people just wandering in picking up Preacher. You know, the person picking up the Preacher trade would be back next week for volume 2, come back next week for volume 3. But even though they were still going, or even with Sandman, they didn't want to go the route of month-to-month issues. They just wanted to hang and wait for the graphic novel. So I don't know of any way I could answer that because I never had experience with that. I know I did it for a while where, I decided to go back into just reading the Walking Dead comics, but then I switched back again to go graphic novels because of what we talked about at the beginning. I'm not reading Walking Dead monthly. I'm waiting till I have 5 or 6 together and reading it. Might as well just wait and get it as graphic novel. Now I'm getting even lazier. I'm waiting for the omnibus because I got 2 of them. I figure they look good on the shelf.
Well, that's good. I do love the big books, the great big monster, trade paperbacks or whatever.
Yeah, I was against them, but I am getting into them now. Not at full retail. I want to find them cheap.
Well, yeah.
Like we do at MSP Comic Con.
Yeah. I am going to be on the hunt for some omnibuses.
Omnibuy?
Omnibuses. And, just so people know, somebody else asked Tom Brevoort about Hawkeye number 22, so it's been bumped back to October. Every time you ask him, he bumps it back another month.
That's good. Give me his email. I'm going to bump that sucker till I'm dead. If you die before it's published, who's going to publish it then?
Another month.
Another month. Hey, I just found www.insectula.com.
Oh.
That was they got a DVD. Or you could do an Amazon Instant Video. That was the one that our buddy Joel Thingvall was in. I didn't get a chance to see it at the Mall of America. I was kind of bummed about that.
I'm kind of surprised it hasn't showed up on the Sci-Fi Channel yet. But Sci-Fi, I look around and they don't have the monster movies on Saturday or Thursday nights anymore. Yeah, they got another Sharknado movie, but I don't see stuff like Mega Shark versus Giant Python. Instead, it's like, oh yeah, there's the Underworld movies again. Oh yeah, there's this movie again. So I wonder if the thrill is finally gone.
Could be. Maybe they need to get the drive-ins going again.
Well, there's a couple of people who put out DVDs like that. My favorite is Sinister Cinema. And I used to order stuff from them. They used to be through Cap Cities. And then when Cap Cities quit carrying their stuff, I would get the catalog and I would order it through your shop to get the discount. And now every year I still get their catalog. They're addressed to Hot Comics here at my house.
Why not?
So my house is Hot Comics St. Paul, I guess.
Oh, why not?
And every year in the fall, they put out drive-in double features where they take 2 movies and they've got footage of somebody driving into a drive-in and grabbing the speaker. And then they show, coming attractions, then a movie, then an intermission. And there are only so many intermissions, and I think I've got them all.
Let's all go to the lobby, buy ourselves a snack. Yeah.
Well, they've also got the, 5 minutes left to go to the concession stand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all the circus theme one, and then there's, all these different themed ones. And then they have another set of coming attractions, and then your final movie. And then after the final movie, there's footage of someone putting the speaker back and the main screen fading out. So those are fun. I like having those. And none of the movies are ever any good at all. And they shouldn't be. But Sinister Cinema is probably the second best known. The best known is Something Wild Video.
Oh, yeah?
And they work with a lot of exploitation film. They have a lot of what they used to call the nudie cuties, which are, the whole plot is around women getting their clothes taken off.
Hey, I've got some women prison DVDs downstairs with that.
And they also have some of the more, they have the gore movies by Herschel Gordon Lewis. Pretty much any exploitation movie you're going to get through them. They have now launched a Roku channel. And I was looking at it and I said, I have so much stuff. I had 2 weeks off. I didn't get a chance to get to any DVDs. So I really doubt I need to add another pay channel to my Roku at this point of life.
Nah.
So Joe, I practiced restraint.
What fun is that?
I know, it's weird. Well, let's get rid of our restraint. Are you ready?
Sure.
Freaking and geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on? What's bugging you? What's bothering you?
All right. Hang on a second. Something is making noise in the background here. Let me just close a few windows. That's freaking me out, too. It's like you'd be sitting here, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a computer ad fires up. And you look, and usually it's a window, and which is annoying in and of itself. But no, they have just audio ones. So it's real annoying. I've got music playing, and all of a sudden there's a commercial on, and I don't know what website did it. And it's pissing me off. But not as much as what happened to me last week. Here I was doing my fatherly duties, driving my lovely daughter to work. Nope, driving her to school. She's not on for work yet. But when she is. As I'm driving home, I suddenly notice I got smoke in the car. And I'm thinking, okay, this is odd. So I roll the window down, blow the smoke out, and then roll the windows up, only to find, yes, I do have smoke, and it's coming out of my steering wheel.
Oh, that's not good.
I was probably about 6 blocks from home, and I thought, well, rather than let the car die here, I will drive very, very fast and get to my house, which I did, and I stopped the car, opened the window, let the smoke dissipate, and thought, So my wife gave me a ride to work. At work, I looked it up. It was I've had a 2002 Saturn L200. We bought it 2004. And basically, a lot of people talking about how I think it's the turn signal windshield wiper on the right side just burns out, and about $300 to replace. So I thought, okay. So we're going to drive the car up there the next morning, turn the car on, smoke, turn it off. Well, I guess I'm going to tow that sucker up. Thank God I got AAA for my car. AAA guy comes and he loads the flatbed and he says, well, I'll have to get the car in neutral, turns it on, turns it off quickly. Yep, it's smoking all right. Brings it over to, well, he just wanted to put it on neutral, you know, so he could wheel the thing up the thing. Because before, I hadn't even turned the car on. I had just turned the electric on. It wasn't smoking until you turn the car on. Well, now you just turn the electric on and it's gone. So bring it up to Saturn, which is now Mitsubishi, because, of course, they got rid of Saturn. And they called me later and they said, okay, well, as you guessed, the windshield wiper short-circuited and pretty much burned out. But it also was hot enough and it burned out the switch in the gear on the other side. So your entire steering column electrical system needs to be replaced.
We're very glad you showed up today.
It's about $600. And I go, I don't think we're going to do it. I'd already figured out if it was anything over $400, I wasn't going to do it. He goes, well, that's probably good because we got a list of things here to fix on your car. The radiator's leaking. You got a slow leak in your transmission pan. The exhaust is gone. The horn's gone. The AC is shot. Yeah, about $2,500 on top just to get the thing, you know,
legal
back to speed. No, it's legal. It's only illegal if you're caught. Didn't Jesse teach you anything? So I decided it's gone. I'm now carless. And we will talk more about this when I get to my geeking part and I'm telling all the fun stuff I'm starting to sell on eBay and why.
There you go.
Of course, one of the things that really bothered me too is all this happened. Well, I guess my wife and I decided she had a crappy week. I had a crappy week. So we went out and just had a meal. Went and splurged, you know, had myself a nice steak dinner, extra toppings, you know, dessert, some beer. It was great. Till I got home at 2 a.m. and promptly threw my $90 dinner up.
Ooh.
I felt I should have saved and at least gotten a refund on it. I don't think the meal in and of itself got me sick. There was something going on gut-wise. Again, it could be with one of the meds I'm taking because it's like my gut was just on fire and I had tingly hands and feet and lips and it was like an allergic reaction to something and then it just went into nausea. But, you know, why couldn't you do that on like a $4 Wendy's dinner? Why did it have to be on a $90 steak dinner? Why?
Because it was a $90 steak dinner.
I'm in between tests right now at TSA. You know how much I love my tests. I just finished my IMA, which is the X-ray test. Make sure I can actually recognize what I'm supposed to be looking for. Guns, knives, bombs. And then at the end of May, right after Comic Con, thank God, I have another one of my tests. And this is one of those strike two, you're out. So I'm going to be very happy in May. Well, at least till, you know, MSP Comic Con's over. And of course, the other thing bumming me out today is we got news that AWA founder Verne Gagne passed away. Now
he died?
He's dead.
I didn't even know he was sick.
He had Alzheimer's, so he didn't know either. Too soon? Well,
just gonna let Artie Reynolds and Blade Braxton know. Stole your joke.
Yeah, thank you. But I grew up.
You only put out a podcast every 3 months, so, you know, you're not gonna miss it.
You're not gonna miss it. I don't know when I first saw AWA wrestling. I do recall there was some guy from Germany yelling at Nick Bockwinkel, wanting to arm wrestle him in the middle of the ring right there, right now. And Nick's like, if we're going to arm wrestle, these people are going to pay. I'm not giving it away for free. You're going to pay and see me at the Civic Center. AWA was the bomb here. I mean, it was big up until Verne started losing it and let people like the Hulk and Road Warriors and Jesse Ventura and everybody get away because he didn't realize the threat from Vince McMahon coming up. But for the longest time, that was the monthly activity. I mean, we would watch AWA wrestling at 11 o'clock on Channel 9. I had to go to church around that, either go to an early mass or maybe be sick so I could at least watch, because the matches themselves were just squash matches, but then the interviews dealt with what was going on. That was how they advanced the storyline. So when you went to the Civic Center, you'd be sitting in the crowd, but you would know exactly what the storyline was. You know, Bobby Heenan busted Buck Zumhoff's big boom box radio, so he was out for revenge. And the stipulation is if Buck won, he got to stuff Bobby Heenan in the dreaded weasel suit, the one that Verne Gagne stuffed him in previously, that I never saw, but they actually mattered, you know. And the big one that got me going is they showed the despicable match that happened with John Studd and Jerry Blackwell against Mad Dog Vachon and Crusher, you know, the original one from Milwaukee. And while the Crusher was out of the ring, they double, triple team, they splashed him, they gave him heart punches, and they basically knocked Mad Dog Vachon out until the Crusher regrouped, got in the ring, and drove the heels from the ring. And while the Crusher had his armed race and victory, Mad Dog Vachon was dragged out in a stretcher, which caused Baron von Raschke to return for revenge. You may have crushed my friend's heart. You may have squashed his spleen. But now I'm coming for revenge. I was hooked. Excuse me while I take a drink. Oh, but every month we went down to the old Civic Center and we would catch the program. I mean, we went Christmas Day, we went Thanksgiving Day. We were hardcore at it. We always bought the cheap $10 seats. That was one section of the Civic Center way up in the stratosphere that you could get a $10 seat. And usually the Civic Center wasn't sold out unless something big was going on. So you were able to slip down to some of the more expensive seats. The biggest night of the AWA was when Hulk Hogan was finally going up against Nick Bockwinkel for the AWA Heavyweight Championship. And basically Hulk had been rebuffed before. He had his chance. He'd been knocked aside. He actually bought a ticket and I think it was a match between Nick Bockwinkel and Wahoo McDaniels. And Hulk Hogan came in through the side. He bought a ticket and sat down at ringside. Actually, he was about 4 or 5 rows back, but he was in the main aisle. And of course, while Bockwinkel was busy screaming, "You are banned from the thing. You're not supposed to be in here." And Bobby Heenan was busy, all upset, but keeping his distance. Wahoo McDaniels came up from behind, rolled him over in a small package. Oh, Nick broke out. But that eventually led to Hogan, and they sold out the Civic Center too fast. I was able to buy a ticket in the adjacent Roy Wilkins auditorium where I could watch it on closed circuit television. Hours before the match, I broke my glasses. Now, I need glasses for distance. And so as I'm sitting there looking at my glasses that are shattered on the frickin' concrete, I'm like, how am I going to do? And some of the girls that were with me, they're like, oh, you could try my glasses. It didn't work. Finally, I found a piece just big enough that I could stare through with one eye. So here I am at the Civic Center. I'm at the Roy Wilkins Auditorium. I've got my hand propped up on my knee. I've got a little piece of glass, and I'm looking through it on to closed circuit television. And what happened is Bobby Heenan, when it seemed apparent Hogan was going to win, tried to toss Bockwinkel some brass knuckles. Hogan got him, clocked Bockwinkel. Bockwinkel got out. Hogan, 1, 2, 3. The place erupted. But then the AWA president, and the life of me, I can't remember who it was, who was there at ringside, came in and said, nope, belt doesn't change hands that way. It's not going to happen that way, even though, Bockwinkel had been doing it for years. So Hogan won the match, but he didn't get the title. And after that, he went to WWF, and That was the beginning of the end. Well, they had a few more years. One of the things I posted on my Facebook page was a very, very old picture of my then girlfriend, now wife, Chris, and I at one of the AWA events. This had happened after Gene Okerlund left. Ken Resnick was the announcer for AWA, and he was running around taking pictures for the kind of the magazine that they had that they sold. You could buy a program, there was an insert, and then there was a monthly magazine you could buy from the AWA, which I bought. And he was asking for people, what type of match you want to see. And this will kind of give you an idea what time it was. Because I had said, it was like Chris and I had said it, but it was really me. I said, we want to see the Road Warriors against King Kong Brody and Abdullah the Butcher, followed by Precious Paul Ellering versus the Sheik. So that was our little, probably 2 seconds of fame in our 15 minutes, which is long since expired. But the AWA, I've just got fond memories of. It hurts to think that all those tapes were actually.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, that
another country heard from.
That is true. I mean, there were times where I would sit and, why is she coming with me? She's not that interested. There was actually one match where I think we were halfway through the card and we looked at each other. Do you want to just leave? Yeah, we left. Anyways. But, I mean, the AWA, I just loved it. It pains me to think that some of those matches they just recorded over because, nobody thought we would care, 30, 40 years later to want to watch these old matches over and over again. I don't think I got revved up for wrestling until, it was Hulkamania, WrestleMania 3, ECW, and, Santino. That was it.
See, my memories of the AWA is that's what was on Sunday mornings. That was the wrestling. And when I was a kid, there's the AWA wrestling, and they we're coming to the Macomb High School gymnasium, blah, 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 blah. Or when they showed on Peoria TV, some gym in Peoria. And, I was 7, 8, 9. Can we go? And Mom would say, your grandfather will not let you ever go to wrestling. And I think I've told this story on the podcast. And I was just confused as to why. And they would just always just flat out no. Then, I'm older. I'm going down to visit and we're telling stories. And my grandmother tells a story about how my grandfather's brother was a huge wrestling fan. And in the 50s, took my grandfather to some matches in Peoria. And this was probably before Verne owned it, but it was, still the upper Midwest territory.
Mm-hmm.
And the heel won. And the crowd rioted. Throwing chairs, trying to get to the bad guy. Cops were there holding people back. And when I listen to interviews with older wrestlers, it's like, oh yeah, that sort of stuff happened all the time. When the heel would win, you knew there was going to be a riot if you'd done it right. But my grandfather was so freaked out and so scared that when they finally got out of the auditorium, he said, you are never bringing me to another one of these ever again as long as I live. And I guess anytime wrestling came up, he would tell people, don't go, you're going to get killed.
I just remember my dad, as I'd watch AWA, that's fake now. They ran probes in the 50s, found out it was all fake.
Well, I think I quit watching once I realized whoever comes out to the ring first loses. Whoever comes to the ring second wins. So if I already know who's going to win, why should I watch it? And one of the things when you go back and you watch Verne's stuff is very much based on amateur wrestling. It's a lot of holds. It's a lot of, headlocks and arm bars and things like that. It's very little of the aerial stuff, to the point where his son and Jim Brunzell, the high flyers, they were really the only ones who were allowed to jump off the higher ropes. And he even put in a bar that you couldn't go off the third rope. Of course, later I found out why from Bobby Heenan, when Heenan talked about, wore out the plywood too fast. And Verne was such a cheap bastard. It's like, I don't want you people coming off the top rope. It tears up the ring too much. I got to rebuy plywood. You're not coming off the top rope anymore. And of course, another part of it is that way it's another thing for the bad guy to do when the referee's back is turned.
Oh, yeah. They're despicable.
It's why in the old NWA, if you threw somebody out over the top rope, it was an immediate disqualification. That way, when the ref's back is turned, the bad guy could throw the good guy over the top rope. My geeking, or more comic relate, my freakings, are more comic related.
I was going to say, this really isn't so much a freaking. It's kind of actually some good memories there. But, so what are you freaking on, Cory? Let's keep going.
I am sick to death.
This here comic book podcast here is turning to wrestling as usual, so no worries.
I'm sick to death of internet freakouts.
Oh.
Oh, here's Jared Leto as the Joker. And immediately, my Facebook is, this is stupid, this is terrible, this is awful, this sucks, this worst idea ever. And one of the things they did on At Midnight that I liked is they showed the picture, and they said, here's what Reddit had to say about it. And it's, no, this is terrible, dumbest idea ever. Oh, wait, sorry, that was the pictures when Heath Ledger's picture of the Joker first came out.
Yeah.
So, and I always go back to Batman 1989. Mm-hmm. It's going to be directed by Tim Burton and starring Michael Keaton. Oh, God, Mr. Mom is Batman. It's going to be a comedy. It's going to be terrible.
Can Bat fans accept that Batman is also Mr. Mom?
Yeah.
Tune in tomorrow to learn the rest.
Well, and that was also when the Batman TV show was the bane of comic fans' existence.
True.
Thankfully, we've gotten over that.
Yeah, now we actually look forward fondly.
Oh, I always loved the Batman TV show.
Oh, I
always.
did too.
I always loved it. But there's also some comic book news that's released and people go, oh, this is going to suck. It's terrible. I hate it. I've already said, I looked at the footage from Batman Superman. It looks like it's going to be as dark and joyless as Man of Steel. That's not what I want to see. Is it the worst thing ever? No. Guess what? You know what I have? I'm pointing at right now on my shelf of DVDs, Joe? I have Superman 1 and 2.
And see, I'm the other way. I'm actually looking forward to it because I want to see a cinema version of Dark Knight. Plus, I'm curious. I'm curious how they're going to tie in the rest of the Justice League. I'm thinking maybe, Soup and Bat will fight and these other heroes will come in, break it up and say, guys, we got to band together. Or not.
Well, and if it comes out and it gets good reviews, cool. But for me, whenever there's this, oh, they're going to ruin it, no, they're not going to ruin it because I've still got what I want on the shelf. There are people who, the new 52 is terrible. And you and I talk about how we don't like it. But that doesn't mean I can't go and pick up that showcase, Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew, and read that.
I thought you were going to say Captain Crunch there for a minute. And you can eat Captain Crunch while reading it.
I can't go and pick up the Batman, all those Batman trade paperbacks that I've got. I've always got that stuff. It's like I told Brian Wilson, who's older than us, who after Crisis was like, the new Superman sucks. I hate it. It's terrible. All comics all suck now. And it's, but look, they're reprinting the stuff that you like. For me, look, they're reprinting the stuff I like. I could still buy DC stuff. I just have to buy the reprints. And all things pass. This new 52, it's already gone. Why? Well, they need to kind of broaden the market again. So Batgirl came out, got a lot of good reviews. A lot of people liked it. People who weren't already buying comics liked it. Oh, we're going to try more of that. Cool. I like that. Oh, they've canceled the Fantastic Four. Yeah, well, they'll bring it back. They canceled Thor. They canceled the X-Men. The X-Men weren't published for years. It's pretty rare that they don't bring back a property. I think one of the only long-running property that Marvel has never brought back, Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos.
That's because he's the Watcher on the moon now.
And it's also because war comics at Marvel never really sold that well.
We had a war? I thought it was a miniseries.
No, World War II.
Oh, that's right.
World War II comics at Marvel just don't do that well. So please quit freaking out about everything. The other thing is, it goes back to my standard thing. Comic creators always get screwed over when it comes to the rights to their characters. Gary Conway just wrote an essay about how a character he created is now in the Flash TV show. He doesn't get created by, he doesn't get any money for it. Legally, it was created by no one. You have to remember something, and we knew this back in the 70s. We knew it in the 80s. Jim Shooter testified to it in court. When you are working work for hire, the company you are working for is the legal creator of that character. If you go and look, who created the Scarlet Witch? Well, because Jack Kirby's heirs won a huge lawsuit, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. But let's say the Black Widow, who was created by Don Heck and Stan Lee. Legally, was created by Marvel Comics. Who created Nova? Marvel Comics. Who created Drax the Destroyer? Marvel Comics. Who created The Flash? DC Comics. Who created Superman? Legally, those are the creators. And before Time Warner swooped in and absorbed DC even more, DC would give out payouts. They would go, oh, you created Lucius Fox, we used him in the movie, here's a check. Oh, you created this, here's a check. We used this story element in this movie, here's a check. Part of that was because Paul Levitz was in charge of DC, and he's not anymore. And the new people are from the entertainment industry, and in the entertainment industry, you don't pay people unless you legally have to. And comic creators need to remember that. If it's not written in the contract, you're not going to get it. And even if it is written in the contract, hi, Tony Isabella, you will have to fight to get it. It sucks. It's terrible. There's so much money sloshing around that why not cut a check? I told Joe before we started recording, one of the things that baffles everybody at Marvel, new Spider-Man movie comes out, a check is cut to Steve Ditko, and he returns it. With a note that said, I did not work on this movie, I do not deserve payment. Now, Ditko wants to make sure that people know about the creation of Spider-Man from his point of view. But he firmly believes, this is the contract that I signed. In this contract, I get paid this amount when I deliver this page. There's no back in the 60s, no royalties, no reprint fees. In the 80s, there were royalties and reprint fees. He will take those because that was in the contract he signed. But what comic creators need to remember, and I think that's why you had that exodus from DC to Marvel, and then from Marvel over to Image, where everybody can own their stuff. If it's not in the contract, you're not going to get it. And yes, that sucks, and it's wrong. But when you go in, you need to go in with your eyes wide open. If you create a character and it becomes a huge hit, Rob Liefeld gets a check for Deadpool because it was in the contract he signed. But his redesigns on all the rest of the New Mutants, he doesn't get a check for those because it's only for the characters you create under the contract you had. So there you go. There's your legal lesson. Joe, what are you geeking on? What are you loving?
Well, the grand sort of my room, it continues as I'm slowly moving it downstairs, counting the days until my daughter, who's already seen the Avengers 2 movie and hasn't said a word, thank you,
I still hate her for having seen it already.
Well, yeah, there's that, Aaron, and your other friend Nicole. We just hate them all. So as I'm moving things, of course, the offer is still there. If you're interested in a piece of my messel crap, just send me an email at crazycomics@gmail.com, and I will pick a random item and send it to you. If you were promised an item and didn't get it, it's probably because I got your address wrong. So just give me a note, and maybe I'll send you something different. I don't know. As you know, I'm currently raising funds for a new car. I wish I'd have known that before I bought. Remember last week I was worried I didn't get the Record Store Day exclusive LP set containing the wrestling album and Pile Driver, the wrestling album 2, on special limited edition red and yellow vinyl. Well, I went and done bought it, got it, and then my car died. So anyways, I've got it. So I'll listen to it as soon as I reset up my stereo. Or hang on to it and sell it years from now. I don't know.
Or maybe sell it now while it's still worth something.
Well, no, you can still get them for about $50, what I paid for it, so it's not that big a deal. In the meantime, I did just finish around last week's rounds of variant comics. A lot of action on the Star Wars variants. For some reason, I sold all the action figure variant covers. I got all excited when Star Wars was coming out. I picked up all the variants I could. And then, of course, I realized, hours later, I really only need one to read and reread over and over. Star Wars may be one, too, that I just buy in graphic novel, because these issues of Star Wars and Vader and Princess Leia have just been phenomenal. So I sold, somebody bought the Star Wars #2 right away for $25. The Darth Vader action figure variant went for $12. I had some Bobo buy the action figure Star Wars #1 that had Luke on it, but then he turned around and sent me a note. I didn't mean to buy this. I'm new on eBay. How can I cancel it? It's like, well, dumb shit. You bought it on the 20th. You bid on the 23rd. The auction went over on the 27th, and you didn't figure out how to cancel it? I think the dumbass just bought one somewhere else and now is just regretting it. Waste my time. But if you buy something, remember, let me know you listen to this here podcast, and I'll always toss in something free. Because I need to raise a lot of cash in a short amount of time, I'm going into what we call the vault. Some of the different things that I have that I really don't necessarily want to sell, but I'm going to. For example, I have my Space Battleship Yamato. That's Star Blazers for us American people. The Soul Papinica 2005 Bandai model of the Yamato. Beautifully etched. I mean, if I had toys like this growing up, I never would have left the house. It was just great. I have it about regular retail, so if you're interested, go take a peek at it. Toss in a couple slow ones. We talked a while back about the Spawn exclusives that Diamond and Todd and McFarlane Toys gave. I put one out that's starting at 99 cents. When it came out, it was a Spawn month exclusive figure. It was so hot in 1998. I had a price on it of $100, and I know I probably sold a few at that price. But now nobody cares about Cosmic Angela. Hell, she's not even in Spawn continuity anymore. So I put one up at 99 cents. If you're interested, check it out. A couple Hot Wheel cars. Well, actually, Corgi Juniors. I don't know if you remember those cars growing up. I have one from the old Starsky and Hutch show. And I found something interesting. Every so often in my collection, I run across something that just kind of amazes me. It's called it's a SEMA show promo blimp. I don't know where I picked it up from. SEMA is the Specialty Equipment Market Association automotive show. It's not open to the public, and this particular blimp was given out as a Mattel promo. It's got a chrome fuselage. It's got the Mattel logo on one side. Extremely, extremely rare, especially if you left it in the baggie, which is anytime you buy a toy, the value is more if you leave it in the original package than if you open it up and play with it, which is why I tend to open up most of my toys and playing with it. So Didn't know I kind of knew I had it, but I didn't realize what the price was. If you're interested, go check it out on eBay. As well as some of the other fun things that I put up there just for the heck of it. I did actually sell something right away. They had this thing in, I think it was 1988, which was the 40th anniversary of Matchbox. And they did a anniversary collection commemorative pack where they redid some replica cars of the original Matchboxes. A little fire truck, the delivery guy with a horse, old-fashioned steamroller, double-decker bus, and a tractor. Fairly common. I mean, you can find them all over. And like I want to do, I always check eBay and a few other sites. If a guy's got it for $12, I put it at $10. Somebody bought it right away at $10. So I've got $10 now towards my new car. Things are looking up. That's pretty much it for eBay. Like I said, I'll be putting stuff on at least till I get a car. Hopefully by next week, I'll be talking about the car I did buy. I did talk a little bit about Gene Ha's Kickstarter. I did pick up on one other Kickstarter. The Folios are starting their third Kickstarter campaign, and it's for Girl Genius, The Beast of the Rails, the latest in the Girl Genius series of graphic novels. Girl Genius, of course, is written by Phil and, I'm bad at names, Kaja Folio, and it's drawn by Phil. It's a story of Agatha Kray, a bespectacled student and lab assistant at Transylvania Polygnostic University in a world where the Industrial Revolution went out of control and left the world at the mercy of mad scientists. The first series is as she bumbled and fumbled throughout, and it was black and white to begin with, and then it became color. They do the series on their website, and then they put it together in a hardcover or softcover later on. If you want to get up to date, you can go to girlgeniusonline.com or go right to their Kickstarter. They got 71 hours to go. It might be over by the time this podcast is up, but they're doing a hardcover. And of course, you can go anywhere from just $5 to tip jar to ungodly amounts of money where they'll probably put you in everything. I don't know. Anyways, Kickstarter is kind of fun. I think that may be a place where we're going to see a lot of comic people doing things. What's the other one? Was there, there's a service where like you just get all these, is it Humble Bumble, where you just get a bunch of comic books online for free? That's probably another way.
Well, you don't get them for free. You pay a small price and you get a big ton of them.
Yeah. I mean, I've been getting those downloads. So, maybe the monthly comic or the graphic novel may be disappearing. I don't think the graphic novel will. Those seem to sell pretty good. But, one way or another, there will be comics, and it may be digital. Until they go digital, I run a couple things. As I said, I'm busy moving stuff, and I keep running across things. And then, of course, I'm looking for things that disappear. I only read 3 comic books. From Image, I picked up Tales from the Con, Year 2. This is from Brad Geiger and Chris Geruso. And again, this is their online stuff, but it basically their web comic strip about Comic Cons, which seems appropriate since Comic Con season is coming up real fast. I read Thor 7. I'm probably going to hang on to this until they figure out what's going on with the female Thor, which I believe we find out next issue. Jason Aaron said this has been in the plan all along, so it's just one of those long-term books. We'll see what happens. And I picked up number 1, Avengers, Ultron Forever. I'm a sucker for a time travel story. The ending of it actually got me one of those, I can't wait for 30 days. I'm not nosebleeding waiting for it. But it's got enough twists and turns that I will probably ride it through. Next month will be New Avengers, Ultron Forever, number 1. And, of course, it'll probably be a graphic novel later on.
And drawn by Alan Davis.
Oh, that's a big plus. This is one of the things I kind of alluded to, why I go nuts sometimes. I'm just starting to reread Astro City. I'm going to borrow them to a friend of mine at work because he reads graphic novels from the library. Hey, there's a thought. And I figure, you know what? I'm going to read some of these Astro City graphic novels. And I could only find 3 of them. I found Astro City, Life in the Big City, which of course is the original one where he was back in Homage Studio. I found Family Album, which was kind of I think covering the remake after I think he had problems with his health and he just started up again. And let's see who published this. Image at the time. And then I don't have it with me. There was the story arc that read like a crime novel where supervillain Steeljack, released from prison, suddenly gets trapped in realizing that people are killing off these low-level villains and nobody seems to care. And it's kind of one of the longest story arcs they did up until Dark Ages. And it was a lot of fun, too. And, of course, the fun thing with Astro City is as you're reading through it, little hints that they drop here and there suddenly pan out later on. And you'll, one of the big ones, and I don't know if you want to throw a spoiler warning up, Cory, because it may or may not be old news by now.
How long ago did the book come out, Joe?
Well, let's see. This one, as I'm looking at it, has a date of 95.
Yeah, I'm not going to worry about spoiling a 20-year-old comic book.
Okay, because, if you start reading it, it makes sense. But as you go through, they talk about the Confessor. And there's a thing in there where this alien who's busy plotting all these different things, and it comes to play in the next graphic novel arc. It just says the Confessor, no known photographs. Why? Well, we discover in the next graphic novel series, he's a vampire. The hint was there, folks. It's not your fault if you're not picking up on him. I love Astro City. I mean, it's driving me nuts because I don't know where the other Astro City books are. I have them all. I just have the newest one, which we talked about last time. I'll just reread that for the heck of it. That's pretty much it for me, geeking. Cory, what are you geeking on? What's got you happy as a clam baking in some clam chowder?
Well, I talked about it a little earlier. I am rereading Hickman's Avengers, and because I've read so much later, I'm picking up on all the stuff that he laid out. All of the design elements are now making sense. This guy is such a genius. He's a Grant Morrison level genius in how he constructs his stories. And the fact that he's pulling in all this stuff from his Fantastic Four run and his Secret Warriors run.
Oh, wow.
Just makes you feel like he had this planned when he got a job at Marvel. That he got a job at Marvel and he said, okay, this is the story arc I'm going to do for the next 8 years. I don't know if that's how he thinks or not, but boy, it sure seems like it. And his characterization is so spot on with each of the characters. His Captain America is note perfect. His Iron Man is note perfect. His Thor is note perfect. And the characters that he brings in and creates, like Ex Nihilo, Smasher, the New Universe characters as on Marvel Earth, are so rich and so interesting. I know that this story has taken a little over almost 3 years to tell. I would be happy if he just stayed at Marvel for the next 20 years. Now, he's not. After Secret Wars, he's done. He's going to be doing Image all the time. But as much as Bendis lays groundwork that he pays off later, Hickman is such a master at it. It's almost like he's operating at a level above most comic creators. So good. So good. The rumor is that Mark Waid is taking over the Avengers franchise after him. Mark has certainly got some big shoes to fill.
He might actually get me interested in staying on. Usually when something happens like this where like a big guy leaves, I'm ready to jump off. But Waid, I'll give him a chance. Give Waid a chance.
And the second thing I'm geeking on is something that the internet freaked out over. At C2E2, DC announced that they would be doing Dark Knight 3.
Oh, yeah.
With with Miller and Azzarello writing, and they did not announce an artist. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I've heard that Frank Miller is very ill, and that's why he's not writing it by himself or drawing it by himself. And that's why we haven't heard much from Miller in the past few years. There are times I think I'm the only person in the world who liked Dark Knight 2. I'm giddy about the fact that we're going to get another Frank Miller Batman story. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. The first one was, a crime novel with Batman. The second one was Miller having fun with superheroes. I'm interested to see what he's going to do with Dark Knight 3. I'm interested how he sees superheroes in the world now. Especially when you go back and you read Dark Knight 2 and you realize that he was drawing it as 9/11 happened. And from what he has said, after 9/11 happened, he actually scrapped half the book and redid it right there, based on what he saw. So Miller is one of those creators where I know that after Dark Knight 2 and All-Star Batman and Robin, it became very fashionable to bash him. But he's always interesting. He's always doing something worth reading. And I'm just happy he's coming back to comics. So I was very excited about that news.
I was too. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. And
Avengers Age of Ultron, by the time this is posted, will have seen it, and I'm geeking on it. I listened to a 90-minute Robert Downey Jr. interview this morning while getting ready for work and going to work on Howard Stern. And, Robert Downey Jr., he says he's happy to do Iron Man as long as they keep paying him for it. He's getting paid a hell of a lot of money to do it. But he talked about how when he came in, he had to audition for Iron Man. And it was a part he really, really wanted. He read the script and was so in love with it. And he was petrified they would go with someone else. And he said, I will keep doing this as long as they let me keep doing it. A lot of the actors who work for Marvel are very much in the, oh yeah, I'll keep doing this. I'll keep doing this. I'll keep doing this. Now, Joss Whedon has said he's done.
Yeah, I like how he also says, I think Agent Coulson's still dead.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, he killed off the character, and it was a very important story point. And while he wasn't mad that they brought the character back, he was like, why do you got to do that to me?
Well, he was doing the book. He did the series. I mean, how could he? He had to have known. It's not like they surprised him.
No, he could have been told this is what you need to do. Now, he did great stuff with it. But remember that Marvel's got Kevin, I can't ever remember how his last name is pronounced. Feige, or the guy who's kind of in charge of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
He's very, very hands-on with the script, as we learned about Ant-Man, where he came in and said, no, you need to do these things. And the person doing it said, Edgar Wright said, well, then I don't want to do it anymore. He has a vision for where the movies are going to go. The other thing Whedon said, and after the announcement this week, I can understand, he said, I'm really tired of making these movies. They're a lot of work, they take a long time, and they take a lot of energy. Have you heard how long they will be filming Infinity War, Joe?
I didn't hear. They're doing it all at once, aren't they?
7 months. It is a 7-month shoot.
Well, if you're getting paid for it.
But that's a long, long time for a movie. Most movies take about a month or two, maybe 3 if they're complicated. This is a 7-month shoot. That means these actors are going to be away from home. Yes, they're getting paid a lot, but they're away from home. They can't do anything else. And they will just be on set for 7 months. And Downey Jr. talked about it. He said, there are some people who could come in and they're not the focal point of the movie. Iron Man is the focal point of these movies. I'm there every day. So they better hope.
Now you know how William Shatner felt on Star Trek.
Yeah.
Of course, he wasn't being paid as much as you, but that's a different subject.
But no, I'm really excited. The Ant-Man trailer looked really fun. The gearing up for the next batch of Marvel movies looks good. This is a really good time to be a comic book fan.
Oh yeah.
And I still remember when I was sitting in the lobby for the first Avengers movie, I texted just about everybody I know and said, if you would have told a 14-year-old me that I would be sitting at a movie theater waiting for a big budget Avengers movie with name stars, because back then it was, it's a superhero, yeah, it's going to be a TV movie and it's going to look cheap as hell, or one of the crappy TV cartoons. Nope, this is the biggest movie of the year. I wouldn't have believed you. And now Avengers 2, it's all, it opened last week around the world, $200 million first weekend.
And Dana's seen it twice already.
Yeah. They say this will probably be the biggest grossing movie of all time.
I don't know if you're listening, Dana, but you better bring me home something really cool.
Well, kids, believe it or not, you've listened to us blather on about funny books for almost 2 hours.
Thank you.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic you like the most. Joe?
Oh, I want to thank McDonald's for not serving hot dogs. I don't think I could order a supersized McWiener with a straight face. Ha ha, hit my music. I feel like dancing. Call my mama. Funk is on a roll. Funk is on a roll.
Hey, yo. Can somebody call my mama? It's about to get funky up in here.